There is one critical element that you are going to need if you communicate an idea. What's up, everyone? I want to welcome you to another episode. Now, today, first of all, let me just talk to you about this. Like, imagine that you have a chair, okay? Like a little stool. But if one of these legs, one of the key legs is missing, this stool has no balance. It can easily fall over. And that's the same with when you communicate a powerful new idea to people. If you're missing one of these key ingredients, then it's not going to stand. That idea isn't going to stand. So, MJ, what's up, my man? Great to see you. How you doing, brother? Always a pleasure to see you. So today I want to talk to you about creating credibility. But first, let me welcome you to another episode of Hypnotic Stories. Oh, my music stopped working. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to be there we go. Welcome you to another episode of Hypnotic Stories, and today we're talking about creating credibility. How do you get people to believe you, believe what you're talking about, truly connect with your story and take it forward? So let's get going. Now, as you guys know, over this last year, I've been making a lot of videos and I share a whole bunch of ideas. I've been sharing a whole bunch of ideas throughout the time. Now, one of the things is I sometimes teach hypnosis, and some of the ideas that I have around hypnosis can be a little bit out there, a little bit kind of, do I believe this? Do I not believe it? You know, people can, and that's natural. Some people they don't know what to believe when you talk about things that are deep into the mind, because the concepts that I share are a bit out there. They are very new to what people have learned or heard about. So when I share these things, sometimes people can disagree. It's normal. Have you ever tried to share an idea and someone might disagree? It happens. But you know, for me, as someone that likes to share a lot of information very frequently, I would sort of think about this a lot. I'd be like, okay, what can I do? How, you know, for a long time I was always wondering, how do I get better at getting people to not just understand but truly connect with it, believe what I'm talking about? And I would always wonder that, keep that in the back of my mind. And not too long ago, I picked up a book called Made to Stick. It's by two brothers called Chip and Dan Heath. And they talk about how some ideas survive and other ideas die. So I was like, okay, and in there, they have a whole section about creating credibility. How do you create credibility? Because what they say is, for an idea to stick, for an idea to be remembered for a long time, people must believe in it. People must believe in it. Marika, what's up? It's so good to see you. You're back. Yay. always pleasure to see you. By the way, guys, on the 27th, 5 p.m. UAE time, that's my 1 year going live anniversary. I'd love to see you guys there. So, all right, cool. Now, so for ideas to stick, people must believe it. For people to really remember your ideas, they must believe in your ideas, the first thing. So one of the things that I started to do is tell stories. Like, this is a story. I'm telling a story. First of all, when people tell stories, they suspend disbelief. So a little part of it. However, within my stories, I'm starting to find elements where you can, I started to add elements of what they talk about in Made to Stick. And I'm going to share with you 6 ways to add more, to create credibility in your stories. Okay, so we're going to be covering 6 ways to add more credibility to the ideas that are in your story. So let's get started with
Number 1, Number 1.
So when it comes to idea, like credibility, the first one, and this is what most of us are familiar with, is external credibility. So external credibility is when you have an authority that has come up with an idea. Now, a simple one of that is like, the Doctors Association have done all these tests, and they say that you shouldn't, I don't know, you shouldn't brush your teeth while riding a unicycle. I don't know, I'm making something random up. But you get an authority that has come up with an idea. And sometimes you'll see when I talk about this, I'll talk about a study that Harvard did. Or I'll talk that's an authority. Harvard is a big authority on a number of things. So you find an authority. Authority is someone that knows what they're talking about, or someone that you respect. Now, does it need to be Harvard? No. Like if I'm talking, if my siblings are talking to each other, and they'll be like, "Who said so?" And they'll if my kids are talking to each other, and they'll be like, "Who said so?" And they'll be like, "Baba said so." I'm the authority in that in that little scenario. So, and then they believe it, right? That's how they can create credibility with each other. It can be a teacher, your teacher. It doesn't need to be like crazy high credibility. It needs to be credible to the person that you're speaking to. Okay, so number one, you get credibility from an authority. So that's number one. Now,
Number 2.
the second thing is an anti-authority. Now, this is very powerful because sometimes you don't have an authority, or you don't know who determined this fact. Okay, but an anti-authority sometimes is even more powerful. Now, let me explain what an anti-authority is. So, I went to a third world country. I'm not going to name the country name. I went to a third world country one time, and I was traveling with my friend, and he goes, "Oh, listen, when you get there, don't just have any random water while you're there. Just buy this kind of bottled water. Never take it, and anytime you buy any fruit, wash it with bottled water." Because I had a friend that was extremely sick. They didn't listen. They ate whatever they wanted. They drank water from that they served in the coffee shops that came from the tap, and they were puking the whole holiday that they were there. Now, what has happened here? The person that we're talking about is not an authority, but the tale of warning is something that we don't want so badly. It's an anti-authority. We don't want to be that person. Okay? Anti-authority is someone we don't want to be, an example we don't want to have. So, I know that there's a campaign where you talk to, or someone comes out and they talked about how they smoked, and they have this voice box. Now, they're not talking about any medical advice or anything, but they're an anti-authority because you're looking and you're like, I don't want to be like that person, or like this thing. So it doesn't need to have a high position of authority. You just need a tale of warning, or someone that has achieved a really bad result, and something that we want to avoid. So the first one was authority. The second, an anti-authority. All right.
Number three.
The third thing is, so we've looked at external. How do you create credibility externally? Externally means other people, right? So we talked about an authority and anti-authority. Now, how do we get a person to just create that credibility within themselves? So we're looking at the internal world. So number 3 is have convincing details. So what do I mean by that? If you're telling a story and you are like, yeah, I went to this restaurant and that's okay. But if you start to say, you know what, I went to this restaurant, and when I remember this restaurant so clearly because when they came out, they served food on this sort of hot plate that steamed the food. And I remember we had this, they had this chicken and they had these garnishes on it. It was absolutely amazing. Anyhow, and then you continue on with the rest of the story. You've given some convincing details that all of a sudden people are like, this story must be true because he knows so many intricate details about what had happened. So when you give some very specific details, the hot plates, the this, the that, then all of a sudden people are going to remember it more because they're like, oh, okay, this must be true because he remembers all the smaller details. I remember there's a story where someone was telling, and all they did was they just said, yeah, I was getting my kid to brush their teeth. He has this really cool Batman toothbrush. Just the word Batman toothbrush adds a whole layer of credibility because all of a sudden you're like, okay, there's a level of detail that they're not making up, kind of thing. So convincing details creates internal credibility. So that's number 3.
Number 4.
Now, the 4th thing is having statistics, but giving context to when you create statistics. So what do I mean by creating giving context? So if you just say a number, you go 32%, 32% of people will say no, or 32% of yeah, I know which one. I know the perfect example for you. In baseball, when someone has a 32% batting average, they are in the Hall of Fame. Now, that alone is okay. Okay, it's okay. But when you put it into context, this is so powerful. This is so powerful. So, for example, if I'm speaking to salespeople, I could go, in baseball, when someone hits about a 32%, hits the ball 32% of the time, that gets them into the Hall of Fame. Let's put this into context. That means they are missing 7 out of every 10 times someone throws the ball. That means literally every time they try, they miss more times than they actually hit. If somebody misses more times than they actually hit, and then they never give up, that gets them into the Hall of Fame. And that's like sales. And a lot of people will say no to you, but you get paid because people say no to you. For example, I'm giving you but what I've done is I've taken a random statistic, 32%, and I've given it context. I've said, in baseball, imagine somebody is throwing the ball and 7 out of 10 times you miss, and that gets you into the Hall of Fame. I've given a whole backstory behind it. So when you take a statistic and you give it context, you give that statistic life, then you become believable. Because otherwise people they hear statistics all the time. You could just throw out any number and people will be like, okay, cool, whatever, so give it some context. Miwa, what's up? Great to see you. It's such a pleasure to see you. Hi, Miwa. Always a pleasure to see you. All right, cool. So the 5th way, I need to get my number 5 on.
Number 5.
So the 5th way that you can create credibility is come up with a Sinatra test. This is straight from the book Made to Stick, and he talks about the Sinatra test. Can you and the Sinatra, as you know, Frank Sinatra has New York. If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. Okay, is there a statement that you can say that passes the Sinatra test, which is sort of like, If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. So I'll give you an example. If you have run security for Fort Knox, okay, the most secure place. If you run security for Fort Knox, if you've made it there, you can do it anywhere. Okay. So if you can, if you have climbed Mount, what's it called, Mount Everest. If you've done Mount Everest, you can climb this little hill. Right? It's if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. So is there a statement that you can say, which is sort of like, if I did this, then I can do this? You know, if I cooked food for these people who just like hate everything, then I can do it for you. Or for example, these are just different sort of ways that you can create credibility without having an authority. All right. So that's number 5. What's the Sinatra test? If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. If I can do it here, I can do it for this situation. Okay.
Number 6. Number 6.
And then number 6 is, how can you turn your audience into a source of credibility? So what do I mean by that? Imagine I share with you something, and I've done this a few times, and I could be like, okay, look, I want you to try this. In fact, I did it the other day. I said, I'm going to tap out a song on, you know, and I tapped out the song. I actually tapped out Happy Birthday. And I said, I'm going to invite you to go and tap out Happy Birthday. No humming, no whatever. Tap out Happy Birthday. In your head, you will hear the song, but people won't know what you're tapping. People will have no idea what you're doing. And I ask you, you go and try it for yourself. Now, I'm creating credibility by asking you to try it. You go and do it. You go for it. Now, as soon as I'm getting you to go and do it, I'm creating credibility by saying, this is verifiable evidence. Go and try it yourself. Okay? So that's the 6th way to create credibility. Turn your audience into a source of credibility. All right. So with that, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And for the phrase that pays, creatively create credibility and you will have believability. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, check out any of my other videos, and go and make an impact in someone's life, even if it's just your own. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you. Lots of love. Peace out, and I will see you soon. Thanks, Marika. Always a pleasure. Take care, guys. Bye.